Hello, my name is Ripley. Welcome to the video.
What's up, schmucks? Today we are continuing our Christmas movie marathon. I said last week that we would be looking at some classic Christmas films, and in regards to that, I kinda lied. Instead of a proper Christmas classic, we're gonna be looking at a new release. A new, spoiler alert, bad release. But before that, I would like to tell you about the G-Words podcast. The G-Words podcast is my weekly little podcast that involves me and my friends talking about all sorts of wacky little things. We have no real rhyme or reason, but it's pretty fun, so feel free to check it out via the links below. You might really like it. Alright, with all of that out of the way, let's get into it. So as you can see, we are here to talk about the latest addition to the Home Alone franchise, Home Sweet Home Alone. And it's about as bad as you would think it is. I remember hearing about this movie like a year ago and immediately booing at the idea of it. And turns out I was right to do so, because this movie sucks, man. But let's get into it and let's discuss why exactly it sucks. Spoilers and all. So if you were gonna watch this with the kids or with your girlfriend or boyfriend if you're happy, yeah, we're gonna spoil it. Let's do it. So for anybody curious, the concept of this movie is that a married couple played by Rob Delaney and Ellie Kemper are having some money issues, but they learn that a doll they own could sell for a pretty penny. But the issue is that the Kevin McAllister of this movie, Max, has stolen the doll and now they need it back. And on paper, that sounds awesome. Like genuinely, that sounds really cool. Like Fun with Dick and Jane meets Home Alone. I think that sounds awesome. And in theory, it should be awesome. It's Home Alone, but you're rooting for the bandits this time. That should be great. However, in execution, it's not great. This was bad. Do you ever see a comedy movie that's just so painfully unfunny? Like you almost feel bad for not laughing at it? This is one of those. This movie doesn't work as a standard comedy, and it really doesn't work as a Home Alone movie. Home Alone is something that worked once, kind of worked for the sequel, but then it never worked again. Because everything in this property needs to follow the exact same formula, and the joy and the magic of the first one just cannot be recaptured apparently. There's even a joke in this movie about how remakes are bad or something.
I'm gonna give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no good keister.
Oh, this is garbage. I don't know why they're always trying to remake the classics. Never as good as the originals.
But hanging a lantern on a criticism doesn't negate the criticism. More than anything, it sheds light on the issue, like an actual lantern. The first act of this movie kind of plays like a conscious mockery of Home Alone, like a parody that's intended to be bad, and that's what I thought this was at first. The movie starts, and the way lines are delivered and scenes are set up and things like that, I went, oh, this knows it's not very good, but it's playing into that? Okay, this could be fun. But you quickly realize that this was made earnestly, with actual effort, and that's when you start to feel bad that this just sucks and it's painful to watch. Before I get into the whole point of a Home Alone movie, the third act home invasion, I would like to talk about a couple things that I liked. I really did like Rob Delaney and Ellie Kemper in this movie. Like, they're not funny and nothing they do is funny, but they really go for it, you know? Like, their performances are fine. Alright, I'm going off script here, but never mind. I don't know why I wrote this. I clearly didn't like them and I have nothing else to say that's nice, so I don't know, let's talk about the other things. So the actual Home Aloning of this movie is kind of a mixed bag. On one hand, some of the traps are actually really fun and creative, like this trampoline bit. I also like this one with the Nerf guns. But some of them are just really stupid, like this VR one.
Am I dead? Is this dead? Oh! That's too high, I'm up too high. Oh.
But the whole sequence here suffers from a few overbearing issues. One being that this just doesn't feel magical like the original movie. In the original movie, the Home Aloning section is carried by slapstick comedy, wonderfully performed by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. But that's what it was. Slapstick. There was a charm to the way the sequence was put together. There was fun sound effects, just the right amount of cartoonish overacting. And the whole thing was filmed in fun comedic ways because Chris Columbus knew exactly what he was doing and what he was going for with a wonderful script from John Hughes. They knew how to write and film physical comedy like this. The same cannot be said for Home Sweet Home Alone. This whole sequence is filmed in a really visceral way, and it's kind of disheartening in moments. The slapstick violence isn't cartoonish enough to be funny, and is done in in ways that just feel awful to watch. There were times where I thought I was just watching a married couple get bludgeoned to death, which you could say about the original movie, but having rewatched it recently, none of it ever feels that way. Like I was saying, there's a cartoonish element to seeing Harry and Marv get beaten senselessly. And that's the other thing. In the original, Harry and Marv are painted as genuine scumbags, and so you end up rooting against them in the end, as they pretty much deserve what's coming to them. But that's not the case in this movie. In this movie, the robbers are the protagonists who are down on their luck and are doing this in hopes of not having to uproot their family. Effectively, they are undeserving of this beating. So when British Kevin McAllister starts trying to kill them, it's just unsettling because you're watching the characters we're meant to be rooting for get beaten helplessly when they don't deserve it. And it's not like this is acknowledged and done in a tongue-in-cheek way. The movie plays their ass kicking for laughs like it's any other Home Alone movie, when this should have been given a different kind of treatment because they tried to make a different kind of movie. But that's just it. They thought they were making just another Home Alone movie, so they thought it had to play out this way. They thought the third act needed the thrashing. But when you go for a swing like this and making the robbers the protagonists, humanizing them, making us root and care for them, you can't have your third act play out the same way as it has in the past, because the setup is very different. You had to come at this with some nuance, with new ideas, and they didn't do that. And so the whole thing just collapses and falls apart. Also, speaking of Rob Delaney and Ellie Kemper's characters, the movie never really builds up their family as important. So in the end, when they're fighting a kid to essentially save their family, I didn't really care. However, to this movie's credit, I kinda liked how the whole conflict was sort of a miscommunication. British Kevin McAllister thinks they want to steal him and not the doll because he overhears their conversation out of context. And in the end, he didn't steal the doll. The couple's nephew did, which leads to this really stupid slow motion sequence where everybody becomes Barry Allen for no reason. But I did like how this cop is Buzz from the original all grown up. I think that's fun. Granted, that's in here for no reason. If you take him out of the movie is not altered in any capacity, but I still thought it was kind of fun for the moment. In the end, Home Sweet Home Alone sucks. It's not a good Home Alone movie, and it's not a good movie in general. While the movie rides on a genuinely interesting concept of rooting for the robbers instead of the kid, the movie fumbles that idea and becomes boring, unfunny, and stagnant rather quickly, until getting to a really messy and poorly constructed third act. And even if some of the traps are admittedly kinda cool, it doesn't save the entire sequence from being heavily flawed. So yeah, Home Sweet Home Alone is bad, and another embarrassing addition to a property that should have really been retired by now. I do actually have a pitch for a Home Alone movie that I personally think would be kind of cool, but that's for a different day in a different video. For now, I want to thank you for watching, I want to hope you have a fantastic day, and I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Bye bye.
This concludes the video.